Welcome to the SRS podcast. My name is Jacob.
And my name is Tate.
Today, we're talking about roofing. More specifically, we're talking about customer service, what it means, and why it's important to not only a roofing company, but basically just life in general and serving people. So, yeah, customer service is the topic for today.
I like that topic.
Yeah, it's a good topic. And the reason why I bring it up is because it's my belief that customer service is the single most important part of sales, because making a sale isn't just about putting money in your pocket. It's about helping somebody. And the only way to help somebody is to act in their best interest and to tell the truth and to be honest. And so there's a lot of things to unpack with customer service. Mainly communication, honesty, building trust. What else? Professionalism.
Trust,
huge.
Mm-hmm.
But you can only build trust when you're always acting in the customer's best interest. You can't lie to make a sale. I mean, you can, but
you can't.
But if you're a bad salesman,
if you're not equitable,
if you're not acting in their best interest, you could tell them something false to make a sale, but eventually that's gonna it's gonna erode you as a salesperson, and it's just not good. It's bad practice. So always act in the customer's best interest and being honest with them about their roof and not telling them that the roof needs to be replaced when it doesn't. Just being a good person, really.
Yeah, I've worked for companies that aren't very transparent. They aren't very professional. They don't really get back to you on time. And then big thing that I think about is they'll tell you that you need a roof when you really don't need a roof. I think integrity is a big part of being a salesperson, and having that, being able to say, hey, you don't need a roof, or I'm just trying to be transparent that I know you got an estimate from someone else, and your roof looks good, but it's filling in this one area. Instead of trying to just give them a whole new roof. Just being transparent as far as saying, hey, like this side of the roof is perfectly fine, but this side is failing, and the reason why it's failing is because of the way that your flashing is up against your chimney, and the shingles are getting back up and underneath, getting wet right there. So fixing that one area, I think people respect that. I think you grow a company. You grow a company's reputation. By doing the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because your reputation is tied. Like for me, I value my own personal reputation, and that links to the company. And so you are the face when you show up to meet a customer. That's the first impression that they get. And you represent the company. So like a client representative, you're also a customer or a company representative too. And so the vibe that you give off, things that you say, and the honesty that you bring to the conversation represents like what are they to think if you give off like a bad vibe or you're not doing the right thing for them. They're going to think about the rest of the company that way too. And so the opposite is also true, where if you are an honest person and you're telling them you're telling them the right things, explaining their roof to them in a way that they can understand and building that trust, then they're going to trust the rest of the process. And even if your bid is a little bit higher than everybody else's, it's likely they're going to go with you because, if they don't feel that trust, it's not always about price, right? I mean, like for some people it is, they're trying to go with the lowest bid. A lot of the time they get bit in the ass because of that. But if they feel that trust toward you, they're going to go with you with your customer service. I mean, that's the way I've made the majority of my sales is through, I've had people tell me specifically, I'm going with customer service over price, right? Because they feel that trust and they feel that our company is, you know, our company is better and they're going to do right by them, right? So I think that's important.
Yeah, I always say too, to all of our guys in the field and everything, do I heard this, I don't think it's Nike, but do good work. You know,
Yeah.
do good work.
Just do it. Just do good work.
And the big thing, like the way that this phase, like this quote goes is, do good work,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's and do the right thing, and no matter what, just do good work. And if you stick with that, it's gonna it's I mean, you're say you have an installer that installs something, incorrectly, you know, you take responsibility, you suck it up, you bite the bullet,
Yeah.
and say, hey, it's not installed correct, and we need to go back and install it and do good work. Say you have a sales guy who sold someone on something that you don't, you know, you don't think that that sell needs to happen,
Yeah, or you can't do or something
or
like
you
that,
can't
right?
do. Yeah, it's okay to go back and say, hey, like, we can't we can't do this for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people respect that, and they like that transparency.
Yeah.
The other thing too is like writing your estimates and your contracts, being clear on the way that you break it down, and giving them not just like, here's an option for doing a re-roof, here's an option for doing a recover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let them know, hey, there's two ways that we can skin this cat.
Yeah. Give them the options.
And what works best for you, you know.
Yeah.
And it also has to work best for your company too. You can't, if you feel like, hey, a re-roof's not, if a customer wants a re-roof and you feel, it's not their best interest to, get a re-roof, or you don't feel comfortable doing just a recover, saying, really, you need to tear the whole thing off. You
Mm-hmm.
can't just recover this roof.
Yeah, and here's why. Because of X, Y, and Z.
Exactly.
Yeah. My best recommendations. Yeah. I think that people, throughout your journey in sales or as a business owner, you will find that you'll find patterns with people. If you're not doing something consistently that somebody wants to see, or if you're not communicating consistently with somebody, they'll let you know, and there's patterns that you'll notice. So if you're constantly getting texts asking the same questions from multiple customers, like, hey, when is my project starting, or hey, when are you getting me that estimate, if you're getting that a lot or with every single person, that gives you some data, which means that you need to make some changes in your systems too, right? Because you can be a great salesperson or a great business owner, but if you don't have the systems to be able to back it up and assist you in actually communicating, and like, for example, with our CRM that we just sort of updated the company with, that's helped massively with pushing jobs forward, getting estimates out quickly, and staying on top of everything, like
Project management,
task management.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have that, things start slipping through the cracks, and then you really only get a couple strikes per customer before that 5-star review goes away. They might feel like, okay, they did a good job, but are they going to give you 5-star review? Probably not, right? So if your systems are dialed in all the way through, and you don't miss a step, and you're telling them exactly what's going to happen, and it happens exactly the way you said it does, you're going to have a happy customer at the end, which is going to give you a 5-star review, which is going to grow your company. And so that's the ultimate goal, I think, with customer service is to deliver a product in a system or a service that's is 5-star, and is, it's the best experience that they've had with a service company. And you can only do that through, obviously, quality of product is very important in the actual service itself and putting the roof on, but the communication process throughout the whole thing is what solidifies, that customer relationship. And that's really what it's all about is making the customer feel good about you and your company enough for them to go and tell other people and give you a review at the very least, right?
Yeah, the other thing too is I saw this just the other day when I was on Facebook. There was a roofer who said, we don't have 5 stars because we make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, we make mistakes too, and we have 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
And that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like I feel like even if you make mistakes, you need to make sure that they're extremely happy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have that one customer who, you know, or maybe not even a customer, someone in the community,
Yeah.
right? That maybe they didn't like the way your guy was driving.
Yeah.
And you don't reach out to that person and apologize and make it right and say, hey, like, we're sorry that we made you frustrated today.
Yeah.
To write about us, and would like to talk about it. Thank you for bringing it up to our attention. I mean, that's part of it. Like,
yep.
You should, if you get like a 4.5 star
mm-hmm.
and you didn't reach out and you just want to blow that person off and say, oh, well, that person was difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
That's not being a good customer, good customer. That's not having good customer service.
Mm-hmm.
You got to listen to the negative. All the companies that I've ever grown, I was able to grow it because I was able to make, horrible mistakes. And I've done, things in past companies and this companies where, you have mistakes that happen, and sometimes, words get, misfired, or arguments and stuff like that. But you got to be able to own it and put your customer first. That's one thing I think, like, we sometimes let our egos as, business owners or salespeople or customer service, we let our egos get the best of us.
Yeah.
When someone's upset, you need to listen. When like, that's that goes with dating too.
Yeah, with everything.
If your girlfriend's upset with you, then listen. Those are things that you need to be a good listener. In order to have good customer service, you got to listen. You got to listen to what their problem is. You got to listen to how they think that you can solve it. And then you also have to listen to be able to respond and give them the respect that they're telling you their frustration. And those are things that you want to hear. So I mean, we've had a driver blow through a stop sign, and someone was really upset and reached out to us and was real wasn't happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
We've had gutters, there was some corners that looked kind of funky and wrinkly.
Yeah.
I mean, and it wasn't, they actually weren't installed wrong. They were installed correct. It just wasn't the right gutter corner that she wanted.
And it just didn't look good. And it was like, okay. Yeah. And then we make it right.
Yeah, you make it right.
Yeah.
There's,
and I think a lot of the time making it more than right, where you make it, you cover, like, you get back up to 0 with them because they feel like they're in a deficit with you, so you get back up to 0, but then you put a positive on top of it, right, to like make it so they're like, not only did they make it right, but they also did this for me too. And a lot of the time that earns you not like better than a 5-star review. Like, they're gonna tell people, hey, this company did right by me plus more. And no, there's not too many companies that will do that. And that's really, like, money's one thing, and like, yes, you could lose a little on a job here and there, but what is the cost of not doing right by a customer and then just kind of leaving them be and being like, screw you then, like, I'm right, you're wrong. Like, it should never be like that. You should always hear them out, like you're saying, and actually listen to them, because they might be reacting emotionally, but really there's a reason behind that, right? It's like, they feel wronged, and just hearing them out and listening to them and then figuring out what a common ground solution would be, and then going above and beyond that will just, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
that's the way I see it. You know.
Yeah, no, I really think that just lines you up for professionalism.
Yeah.
Gives you good, helps build your reputation, your integrity. The other thing too with, let's dig in with like professionalism is,
Mhm.
when they come in through our portal, like the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure we contact them, within a reasonable time. Um, starting, SRS, was a big reason was because we reached out to multiple roofing companies to get a get a quote. Even a company that I was working for at the time, and they just didn't respond
Mhm.
within a timely manner. And I mean, I understand, like, we're all busy, especially, spring, summertime, when the sun's out, right? You're busy. But if you can't handle your inflow of, potential customers, and contacting them in a reasonable time, like, and I think a reasonable time is within like the first 24 hours,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be, in business. And I think that you need to, your inflow, the way that you touch people when they come through you know, your website, your email, your phone call, you need to make it magical. You need to be respectful. You need to get out there within the first 48 hours and look at their roof. And you need to be able to present yourself in a professional manner. I've seen so many guys just show up, not looking good, looking hungover,
Yep.
um, you know, here to sell you a roof, and that's what gives, I think, roofers, a bad rep, is they're not professional, and they're not clean. They don't respond in time, and that that wins over those customers.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Being able to be courtesy and respectful, and show them that you're doing safety from just the get-go when you're getting out there and
Mhm.
talking about it. um that's
I'm sure a lot of guys resonate with that. The ones who actually do their follow up and are timely and stay on top of it, show up on time, look clean.
mhm.
You know, you know just as much as I do that those people have told you, or they're impressed by almost like the bare minimum, and it kind of tells you something when it's like, you feel like this is just the way I do it. I show up on time, uh, and you do the right thing. But the fact that people are impressed with that sometimes is kind of sad, because it just goes to show you that the majority of companies, I wouldn't say majority, but there's a large portion of them, they just don't.
The bar is very low.
The bar is super low. Yeah. And so it's not difficult to to go above and beyond, and it's just a matter of staying organized and actually caring enough to contact them, because let's face it, if you're a homeowner, and you called a company or you reached out, I mean, and they got back to you in like 5 days, or they just didn't get back to you at all, you'd never recommend them, you'd never use them, and that company would not earn your business.
Yeah.
So, um,
When I'm purchasing a new company too, that's actually one of the things that I do. I reach out, or I have someone reach out,
mm-hmm.
for the service and see how they're treated.
Yeah, see how they handle it.
And if it's not handled correctly, or if I feel like, I mean, I can't tell you how many deals have been broken because um, their customer service from the get go, their inbound, their system right there was broken.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there told me this business is not a good business to invest in. And, they didn't follow up, they didn't have the support. Um, there's a lot of broken systems in there.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't have I mean, as a rep, you have your own systems yourself, right? I think the good ones have sort of a standard that they, like, if you're a good rep, the company's going to give you SOPs. If they're a good company, they're gonna show you like, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. But if you're a good rep, you already do those things,
Mhm.
right? So, um, I think lot of it boils down to just you got to have good people in the company, or at least people who are wanting to be good and that don't know yet how to be good, or who are proactive, organized, and actually care about the outcomes of the customer. Because once that happens, just sales in general, like the best salespeople care about the outcome of the customer. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't care about solving the person's problem, then you shouldn't be in sales. We'll just put it that way. I think, let's wrap this up here, but there's 6 things that, we really want to keep, key points. We'll put this down in the work, in the podcast, description. If you're struggling right now with your customer service, feel free to reach out with us. Love to hop on a call with you, just talk to you, bounce off some ideas, mastermind together. But number 1 is, clear and timely communication. Return calls and emails properly, explain, the roofing process, the timeline, the costs, and clearly have the cost be very clear. Keep customers updated, and let them know if there's going to be any changes or delays, even if it's like, hey, it's too windy, or hey, we're behind on schedule.
Hey, yeah, there's going to be a truck that's delivering material to your house on this day.
Yeah.
Right.
Number 2, being transparent with estimate and contracts. Provide, written estimates, have it detailed and broken down. Don't do it on paper. It doesn't look professional. It's 2025. Get an iPad out, do a DocuSign, show it, on their phone where they can be able to look at it, and get a copy of it. Be honest about what is included and what is potential additional costs, and what those potential additional costs could be. Like, here's my man hours. If OSB, we have to, replace some sheets, hey, we ran into some rot with fascia. We were talking about that this week, what would those additional linear foot prices be? The other thing is, with the contract, don't pressure the customer into a decision. If they're ready to buy and you've done your job right and you've given them all the solutions, and they're going to buy. If you feel like you have to pressure them, it means that you did not do a good enough job explaining the cost, explaining, the contract breakdown, and explaining what this estimate is.
Yeah, and just understanding their problems and what they're actually trying to solve.
Yeah.
Right.
And then once you got the contract, estimate done and everything like that, the third one is going to be professionalism on site. Have your guys show up, in your gear. Have them show up with your logos. Our guys, you got SRS shirts, we got high vis shirts, we have hats. Our trucks are nice and clean, and they have logos on them. Our guys aren't like showing up.
They're not smoking. They're not blasting music.
Yeah. So that is, being courtesy, respectful to the homeowner and the neighbors. We go out when we get on in the neighborhoods and let them know, hey, we're in your neighborhood right now. If you have any problems, or if there's something that blows into your yard or something like that, here's our number. Give us a call.
And that gets you jobs too.
It does get you jobs. That's the easiest way to get you jobs. And it's actually very disappointing to me that not many roofing companies do that.
Yeah.
But in our area, we have the upper hand. That's how we get these neighborhood, to like us and trust us and continue with us. So just a phone call this morning, someone was like, hey, like, I was, saw that you're doing work out in Birch Bay, and we want to be able to, we heard great things about you, and we want to get an estimate from you. And we were able to talk to one of your guys out there. And so they gave us your number, and, they asked for us to come out, give them an estimate. We're in the neighborhood, but it was because we were out in that neighborhood and we were respectful, and we let the neighbors know that we were doing houses in that neighborhood, and if they need anything, let us know. And the other thing too is, if you got a roofing company, this goes for just the consumer. So if you're purchasing a new roof and someone's up on your roof and they're not tied off and they're doing work, you need to get them off your roof, because um, if they're doing work and they're not tied off, it's a liability for you, and it's a liability for the company. We have a book about this thick, for safety. We go over that with our guys. We've had mistakes. We've had people, not in our company that don't want to wear a harness, or feel like they don't have to use a rope. They can, and they no longer work here. Safety is important. I want all my guys to be safe, to not feel like they aren't safe, and that they are pressured into not doing the job not safely. We want them to work safe, and so if let your customers know, like, hey, safety is a big deal for us. If you feel like there's something that's you know that you see one of our guys doing that's not safe, or you don't feel comfortable about it because of the safety, please reach out to us and let us know.
Absolutely. And make sure they clean up
Clean up
that site.
that
Get a
goes
magnet.
that goes up into quality of workmanship.
Yeah.
Use the right materials that you believe in, that your company stands behind, and the manufacturer that stands behind you, and you're educated in those materials to help do it. Just today we're leaving to go to a GAF conference to go learn more about materials, how to install it, and we're taking our team with us, and not all the guys on our team, but our leaders on the team, to be able to pass it down to that, to be able to understand the best practices of and the local codes that are here in Washington or Ohio or Arizona or Texas, that we have to install in, and being able to offer warranties and a labor material warranty to a good quality. Clean up after yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Install it if you see that it was installed incorrectly, or there was water in there, own it, fix it. It's that simple, and let people know, let your customer know, hey, we're doing this because this happened. So
100%.
Number 5 would be following up in support. Just because the job is done, what I mean, doesn't mean you just roll off. You want to make sure that you follow up and walk through with the customer. You want to make sure that not just after the job is done, but follow up 6 months after, to make sure, because that's when you start seeing things. Usually within the first 6 months of a new roof install, things have blown off, or had some rains and stuff like that. You can see if there was something that maybe you missed, and maybe the material. We've had it where the adhesive, it wasn't holding up because of how cold it was, and it didn't get properly, like it wasn't properly like flowing during the install, and there's tacky areas, and so it's like, go back, and we were able to look at it and fix it. And the other thing is, be able to follow up with your customers. Once you have that customer, you got to understand they're a customer for life. You can sell them on, be part of your roof care program. You can get them on the roof shield program. There's a lot of things that you can do with that customer. Invite them out to, maybe a golf tournament, or invite them out to open, restaurant happy hour. Like, reward those customers, not just right after you did a roof for them, but ongoing with them. They're going to become a huge fan. They're going to talk about you. They're going to think it's really cool, and
100%. Because what other company does that? Did you know?
What
other company have you used that invites you out for golf tournaments or drinks or whatever? Right? I mean, depending on the customer, of course, but still, just going above and beyond, following up, and really just being like a steward of your community. and serving your community, right?
Yeah.
Because we're dealing with people here, and yeah,
That brings us to the last one.
honest reviews
Honest
and
reviews.
referrals.
Yeah.
So I mean, this all ties it together, but having the systems in place and having good people on your team that care about your customers, and then also ask for reviews. Don't forget to ask, because people won't give you a review unless you ask. All right. And make it easy for them to give you a review. So if you don't already know, on your Google business profile, there's a link that you can go and find that will send them directly to the Google review page. If you're not using that, or just some service like Nice Job or High Level or whatever to actually get these reviews, you're shorting yourself potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, because you're not actively getting reviews, because that's your digital reputation. So super important to get reviews, but you can only get reviews if you're giving a 5-star experience, not only with customer service, but also with the quality of your work and the integrity of your employees. So always ask for reviews, but also before you ask, give them a 5-star experience.
Yeah, make
Right?
sure you do that. The other, you know what I saw was really cool yesterday?
What?
I just thought about that because you were saying, give them a feedback, show them the little link.
Yeah.
I've never seen this, and it was at the gas station here on the corner, at the register, and it's from Speed Pro, and on the register, it says, give us a Google review, and they had a QC code, and it had like the little Google sign and everything. Can you get that off Google?
Yeah, I mean, I can like create a QR code and then link that Google code to it. Super easy. I mean, it's super easy nowadays.
I just thought that was pretty cool. Like, I pulled out my phone, boom, because it's like, that's the first time I saw it. Pulled out my phone at the gas station. Hey, Lucky here, he does a wonderful job. Serving us. He always has.
Is that his name, Lucky?
Yeah, his name is Lucky. Yeah, he always has my snacks and the Tonight Dough ice cream.
Oh yeah.
and
shout out Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah, Ben and Jerry's, and they always take care of our guys here when they come in to get them lunch, prepared, and get our gas and everything. So
there you go.
Yeah,
it was pretty.
It was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty neat. I've never seen one of those before, especially at a gas station. So
I feel like the new generation of roofers, or at least the 50 and under, they're kind of getting busy with the technology. They understand the importance of your digital footprint and your business online. So like referrals is one thing. Like word of mouth obviously is always going to be the best, right? Those are the easiest sales, because the trust is already built in to the sale before you show up. But the reviews are second best. Your reviews and what people say about you online is super important. They're going to look at how many reviews you have. They're also going to look at the score, right? So if it's like 4.9, 4.7, you're probably good. If you're getting down in lower 4s, maybe need to be some changes happening there. But yeah, it's easy. It's easier to get reviews, and if you're not getting them, you're leaving in a roofing company hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table, because the more reviews you get, the higher you rank on Google, and the more people are going to find you. So
absolutely. So if you'd like to have this customer service checklist for you and your roofing crew, we're going to put it down here in the link below. You can go ahead and take it, and if you have any questions on how to help grow your roofing business and you want to connect, we'd love, if you're a roofer and we'd love to connect with you. You might have knowledge that we don't know. We might have knowledge that you don't know, and we'd love to bounce some ideas with you and build this community up.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, have a good day, good night, or good morning, whatever time you're listening to this. See you later.
Peace.